Well, very good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking at this hour.
Everybody who works for me is my family. So with this kind of strong position, कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे लोगों का काम है कहना.
Vedanta chairman Anil Agarwal dismisses concerns over debt, says group's position is comfortable, asks how long will you hold my legs on government's opposition to merging Vedanta's international zinc assets with HZL, urges the government to sell its residual stake, saying the promise was made 20 years ago. Bulls claw back on Dalal Street. Sensex gains 900 points and the Nifty gains nearly 300 points, posting the biggest single-day gain in nearly 4 months. PSU banks and real estate stocks are the top gainers this week. All Adani Group stocks rally after investment from US-based GQG partners. The group has regained market capitalization of nearly 2 lakh crore rupees in just the last 4 trading sessions.
A year back, we had already raised 1 billion and the whole funding got closed, a month back or so. So we are, for the current, few years, we are pretty well funded.
Tata Motors clocks a production milestone of 5 million cars today. The company remains confident of demand revival, but sees single-digit growth in FY24, remains non-committal on rumours of a stake sale to further fund its EV business, says enough cash for the next 2 to 3 years. Some interim relief for Yes Bank. Supreme Court extends the stay on Bombay High Court order, which had quashed the bank's plan to write down 8,400 crore rupees worth of additional Tier 1 bonds, but had stayed its own order for 6 weeks. Supreme Court seeks clarification on whether an administrator is empowered to execute such write-offs. The Company Law Appellate Tribunal refuses to stay ownership transfer of Jet Airways to the Jalan-Calroc consortium. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that the lenders are unlikely to challenge the order and back-channel talks between lenders and the consortium are underway. That's an exclusive. Andhra Pradesh government attracts investment proposals worth 13 lakh crore rupees at their Global Investor Summit in Vizag. Chief Minister Jagan Mohan Reddy says the government will sign 90 MOUs worth 11 lakh crore rupees just today. European Union's Josep Borrell says that the bloc will continue supporting Ukraine with ammunition, but member states have to take a call on providing fighter jets. He also takes on the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, says at least he did not walk out during talks. Lavrov, while speaking at the Raisina dialogue, complained that nothing except Ukraine was of interest to the G20. Onion prices crash as rising mercury forces farmers to bring both Kharif and late Kharif onions to the markets. This surge in supply has sent prices crashing to between 7 to 2 rupees a kilo. CNBC-TV18 captures the farmers' plight from Maharashtra's Lasalgaon. And a turning point for women's cricket. The WPL kicks off this weekend. The excitement is palpable, but will advertisers play ball? Special report coming up. Well, let's begin with the day's market action. Dalal Street posted the biggest single-day rally in nearly 4 months as the bulls clawed back in trade. Sensex gained 900 points and the Nifty gained nearly 300. All of this thanks to Friday rally. Both major indices have ended this week in the green. And well, it's the 4th day of gains for Adani stocks. All 10 companies added about 68,000 crore rupees to market capitalization just today. In the last 4 trading sessions, Adani Group has gained nearly 2 lakh crore rupees in market cap. Today's rally was largely thanks to US-based GQG Group, which has invested about $2 billion into Adani Group, picking up minority stake in 4 group companies. The group's promoter entity offloaded 3.39% stake in its flagship entity, Adani Enterprises, for 1,410 rupees per share. This is a 67% discount to the stock's 52-week high of 4,190 rupees per share. However, this is still well above the 52-week low of 1,018 rupees per share. Sticking to Adani, shares of the lenders to Adani Group perked up in trade today after the large investment from GQG Partners. At least 6 lenders have an exposure of nearly 60,000 crore rupees to the Adani Group. Adani accounts for nearly 2% of the loan book for rural electrification COP. Private banks like IndusInd Bank and Axis Bank have significant exposure to the Adani Group, along with PSU banks like SBI, PNB and Bank of Baroda. The RBI, meanwhile, has sought details from banks about their exposure to the Adani Group. Sources say RBI is fully cognizant of the exposure of both banks and NBFCs. Sources also say that the data on exposure submitted by banks includes their international investment as well as investment book. Well, Anil Agarwal, the founder and chairman of mining company Vedanta, is extremely confident about the company's financial health. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18's Nigel D'Souza, Agarwal said that with $30 billion in revenue and $9 billion in profits, Vedanta has enough internal accrual to repay debt and even raise fresh funds. Anil Agarwal urged the government to divest its residual stake in Hindustan Zinc, saying that the promise was made 20 years ago. He said this in response to the government's opposition to Hindustan Zinc buying Vedanta's international zinc assets. Agarwal said, and I quote here, "How long will you hold my legs and not make me run?" End of quote. Here's a slice of that conversation.
Very comfortable. Every penny has been made. Yeah. So there is no question. We have, number one, we have enough internal accrual to take care of all our debt payment. On the parallel, we have enough resources to raise debt, which is the regular business of ours, to make sure that each payment is made on time. Last 15 years, never this kind of raise, never been company was such a good shape.
Yeah, right.
And never been this question been asked.
Right. You know, Mr. Agarwal, your Vedanta resources, normally all the payments, if I look at the previous quarters, you have made it in advance and by a good margin. And this time around, there are a couple of payments that are coming up, say, in the next couple of months, which they're still outstanding. So that's why the street is a little bit jittery on Vedanta resources. But you're telling us that you're confident you're going to be making those payments?
More than confident. More than confident. As far as the bond is concerned, sometimes there is an opportunity people to make money. People to make money, where you will get this kind of yield? A common man should buy this bond because this is a 50% gain. Because this is the greatest opportunity to make money on Vedanta bond.
Now, the proposal of Hindustan Zinc to go ahead and buy International Zinc's assets, well, the government of India seems to have opposed it, at least as of now. But you have said, and your spokespeople have said, that you all are in discussions and best for the shareholders and for all stakeholders will be done. So what's the plan B out here? Will you be looking at a share swap, another way of getting this deal done? Is there a plan B?
I want Hindustan Zinc by itself. I'm thinking that the way the scope is, we can make it, Hindustan Zinc today is a $20 billion company. We can double it in no time.
Right.
But we have, zinc is a scarce commodity, and zinc is required for today's environment because naked steel you can't use.
Correct.
You have to use galvanized steel. And we produce silver. Silver is a very, very important commodity for everything.
Yeah.
So we need to grow, and we got this asset which is under the same umbrella.
Yes.
Same umbrella. And today, how Hindustan Zinc is running? Because we have all the talent from the South Africa.
Yes.
We don't have mining talent. So we got all the talent from South Africa, and this hodgepodge, huge leakage. If you can put these two companies together, the company 2 and 2 going to be 6, not 4.
Right.
So that was the whole idea, because we have bigger asset than the Hindustan Zinc. We did a very conservative valuation. And the money which is lying in Hindustan Zinc, we are getting return of 2 to 3%.
Yes.
If we take South African asset, which is a producing asset,
right,
profit-making asset, if they put them together, the return is almost 17–18%. It is the right move. I'm saying why government has agreed that we will sell 100% share 20 years back. You know, how much you hold us our leg, not to run. They have to take a decision to disinvest this 29%.
Yes.
If there is a clear-cut agreement that they will be divesting to us with a particular formula, and government can get probably 50,000 crore, 40,000 crore, and they want to do it. But they have to accelerate. If they go away, then we can run our company. Company has to run by the board,
yes,
not by the government.
Well, you can catch this entire conversation with Anil Agarwal, Chairman at Vedanta Resources, at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. Well, in some courtroom action now, interim relief for Yes Bank, the Supreme Court extended the stay on Bombay High Court order, which had quashed the bank's plan to write down 8,400 crore rupees worth of additional Tier 1 bonds, but had stayed its own order for 6 weeks. That stay has been extended. But there are three important takeaways here. Number one, the Supreme Court, of course, agreeing to hear, issuing a notice to bondholders. That, of course, is the first key takeaway. The stay continues, part of the first key takeaway. The second, of course, is questions being asked by the Apex Court to Yes Bank as well as to the RBI as to whether or not there is any power in law which empowers them to write this off. This was the big question that was raised by the CJI-led bench, Justice Chandrachud-led bench. And not just that, another key observation that had been made by the Apex Court is that this write-down of the whole amount of 8,400 crore rupees is a bit extreme. And in fact, the Supreme Court has sought for segmented data on the bondholders and the subscriptions that they have to these bonds. The main intent of the Apex Court is that the smaller bondholders should not suffer, and that's a concern that has been expressed. What's interesting is that both the RBI as well as Yes Bank are arguing in unison that they do have the power, number one. Also going on to say that the public sector banks, led by SBI, have invested about nearly 10,000 crore rupees as a part of this restructuring scheme, which is based entirely on this write-off. And if this write-off is not allowed, well, then the bank, the Yes Bank, will become unviable. Once again, that would put all the depositors to risk. So a balancing act is required, essentially suggesting that the Apex Court will have to do that. The Supreme Court, for now, allowing for the stay to continue. The hearing in this case will resume on March 28th. So a key date to watch for as far as this regulatory battle is concerned. And speaking of battles, let's continue with courtroom action. The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal has refused to order a stay on Jet Airways ownership transfer to the Jalan Calroc Consortium. Now, lenders had moved the NCLAT seeking a stay on the company's tribunal's order transferring Jet Airways ownership to Jalan Calroc Consortium. Sources, meanwhile, tell us that lenders are unlikely to challenge the NCLAT order. Madhya Mujawar is here joining us more with those exclusive details. Madhya.
Well, after several months of a standoff, we are now seeing some progress in the Jet Airways relaunch saga. The NCLAT refusing to stay ownership transfer of the airline, as you mentioned, bolsters Jalan Calroc's position in the ownership transfer tussle. And now, as you also mentioned, sources tell us that lenders are unlikely to challenge the NCLAT order. We learn there are back-channel talks underway between the banks and the consortium to expedite the transfer process. Sources say that the consortium is willing to give an undertaking to banks on some of the points of contention. It is likely to assure banks of complying with the Supreme Court order on PF and gratuity payments that come to approximately 250 crores. This is the additional payment than the 475 crore rupees. The consortium, we are told, is also willing to allow banks to use the aircraft rental proceeds that come to about 130 crores. Now, sources also say that JKC is likely to pay the first tranche of 185 crores to the creditors within 2 months after receiving SEBI's approval. Remember, both members of the consortium are based out of India, so they will need the market regulators' nod to receive money from foreign source. The airline's monitoring committee, we are told, is expected to meet next week to give a go-ahead to the consortium. And we learned that Jalan Calroc is also likely to give an undertaking to banks, assuring it will make the remaining payments irrespective of getting airport slots and traffic rights. We reached out to the Jalan Calroc Consortium, but it is yet to respond to a query, while CEO designate Sanjeev Kapoor said he has no comments on the matter.
Thanks, Madhya, for that. From the aviation now to the auto space, Tata Motors clocked a production milestone of 5 million cars today. Speaking to Shireen, in fact, earlier, the company's managing director, Shailesh Chandra, said that he remained confident of demand but saw single-digit growth in FY24. He also remained non-committal on rumours of a stake sale to further fund its EV business. Take a look.
A year back, we had already raised 1 billion and the whole funding got closed, a month back or so. So we are, for the current, few years, we are pretty well funded. There are many other ways of raising the fund, including debt route, but we are absolutely open to going any additional route, and anything is possible. So therefore, I would not like to say yes or no.
European Union's Josep Borrell says that the bloc will continue supporting Ukraine with ammunition, but member states have to take a call on providing fighter jets. He also takes a dig at Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, saying that at least he did not walk out during the talks. Lavrov, meanwhile, has said, speaking at the Raisina dialogue, complaining that nothing except Ukraine was of interest to the G20.
We were happy this time because Minister Lavrov remained in the room to listen to us. In Bali, he spoke and he left. There is a big improvement because this time he spoke and he remains seated to listen to us. And the message was clear: take your troops out of Ukraine. Stop the war. Stop the invasion.
The entire G20 was only about what to do with Ukraine and the final declaration, can we have it or not. I asked the Indian friends and the Indonesian friends who were cheering the G20 and those who were cheering G20 before Indonesia for all these long years, whether G20 ever reflected in those declarations situation in Iraq, in Libya, in Afghanistan, or in Yugoslavia.
Well, with that, it's time now to slip into a very short break. But up next on the other side, onion prices crash as rising mercury forces farmers to bring both Kharif and late Kharif onions to the market. A ground report up next from Maharashtra. Up next. Well, February of 2023 has been the warmest February since 1901. Now, according to private weather tracker Skymet, given the rise in temperature, onion farmers in Maharashtra have brought their Kharif as well as late Kharif onions to the market at the same time, and both have been bumper harvests. This surge in supply has sent prices crashing to between 7 to 2 rupees a kilo. CNBC-TV18 Santya Gowda travelled to Maharashtra's Lasalgaon and reports that farmers there are a worried lot.
The prices being shouted out are for 100 kilos of onions, and they are not making farmers happy.
3 रुपए से 3.5 रुपए तक कांदा गया है अभी।
आपकी भी रसीद में दिख रहा है कि 2.5 रुपए में ही गया है आपका प्याज भी?
2.5 रुपए किलो भी है अभी।
3 रुपए 31 पैसा केजी।
2 रुपए 90 पैसे केजी के भाव बेच दिया है, उसमें कुछ भी नहीं मिल रहा है।
That's a pittance when the cost of production is starkly higher.
कुल मिला के 50-60 हज़ार रुपए खर्चा आता है एक एकड़ के लिए।
15-20 रुपए किलो प्रति किलो पिकाने के लिए खर्चा आ रहा है और उसका माल 2 रुपए 3 रुपए 4 रुपए किलो बिक रहा है।
एक एकड़ में अगर 2 ट्रैक्टर भरा तो ट्रैक्टर भरने का 1500 रुपए लेती है, यानी घर से इधर लाने तक 20,000 रुपए खर्चा एकड़ में आ रहा है।
दवाई एक एकड़ को दवाई को 5,000 लगते हैं, खाद 10,000 के लगती है।
On average, farmers who bring their produce to this APMC market in Lasalgaon spend between 15 to 20 rupees to produce 1 kilo of onions, and experts say that prices dropping to between 7 and 2 rupees per kilo will result in a total revenue loss of over 5,000 crore rupees. Prices have crashed because rising temperatures have forced farmers to bring their crop to market much ahead of schedule.
The late Kharif arrival is coming into the market right now, and what we see is that there is a surplus production. And this is not just there in Maharashtra, which accounts for a significant chunk of the late production, but we're also seeing a similar trend in the markets in Gujarat as well as Madhya Pradesh.
The government has tried to blunt this impact. NAFED, the central government agency in charge of agri procurement, has ramped up onion purchase to stabilize prices. Between the 24th and 27th of February, NAFED bought 424 metric tons of red onions from 8 centers across the Nashik belt, which benefited 116 farmers. By the 1st of March, NAFED says it has procured 1,327 metric tons across 22 centers, benefiting 355 farmers. But many farmers say the action, which is already late, is not enough.
ये नाफेड का क्या बता
नहीं नहीं सब झूठे लाल कांदे का अभी तक किसी ने भी नाफेड ने 1 रुपए का भी कांदा ने प्याज भी नहीं भेजा
वो सब झूठ बात है। वो अभी वो तो उधर बता रहे मंत्रालय में कांदा खरीदी चालू किया, अभी इधर कोई भी नाफेड में कांदा खरीदी नहीं किया है।
नाफेड भी कुछ भी आता नहीं, इधर सब झूठ बात बोलता है।
The problems caused by the crash in onion prices have turned political, with opposition leaders in Maharashtra Assembly wearing onion garlands in protest. This prompted Chief Minister Eknath Shinde to respond.
नाफेडची खरेदी सुरू झालेली आहे. 2.38 लाख टन मेट्रिक टन खरेदी झाली आहे.
The problem is that the Chief Minister quoted last year's procurement figures, but for the farmers, time is running out. With persistently high temperatures, their Kharif and late Kharif onion crop, which has relatively higher moisture content compared to the Rabi crop, are at risk of rotting quicker, with total shelf life, even under the best conditions, being reduced to just 1 month. For the onion farmers of Maharashtra, this is a classic Sophie's choice scenario. They can either sell their produce at an extremely low rate, or they can store their crop for a few months, which will mean additional cost for storage, resulting in a manifold increase in production cost. Crashing onion prices have taken center stage at the Maharashtra Assembly, and while the centre and NAFED claim the situation is under control now, onion farmers in Maharashtra tell a different story. In Lasalgaon, with camera person Raju Gupta, this is Santhya for CNBC-TV18.
The inaugural season of Women's Premier League is all set to kick off this weekend. T20 is the most lucrative format in cricket, and the WPL is a significant step forward to build the women's cricket economy. Now, top corporates have invested the big bucks to buy the franchises, and television rights have been sold for nearly 1,000 crore rupees. But the big question is, will WPL command advertiser interest? Samiksha Sharma and Arundhati Ramanan find out.
ए लड़की तेरा नाम क्या है, पूछने वाले पूछे तो बता तेरी पहचान क्या है। तेरा नाम गूंजेगा तो उठेगा एक तूफान, हिलेगी जमीन मचेगा घमासान। तेरा नाम गूंजेगा जब हर गली हर मकान में फैलेंगी तेरी बातें हर नुक्कड़ हर दुकान में। पीठ पे सजाए घूमेंगे तेरा नाम, देखेंगे फिर गेम तेरी छोड़ के काम सब पीठ पे सजाए।
It could be a turning point for women's cricket in India and the world. The Women's Indian Premier League is upon us. The BCCI is doling out free tickets for women. For men, the tickets are priced at nominal rates. While these are positive steps to attract viewer interest, advertisers are in a wait-and-watch mode.
It's not about men's IPL versus WPL. I think this is more about men's cricket versus women's cricket as a principle. Okay, so men's cricket was always something that people followed, appreciated, and therefore the IPL form, when men's cricket took the IPL form, it was a fairly natural extension. You didn't have to sell men's cricket. But women's cricket does not have a steady following in this country yet.
While advertisers have not made a beeline, some big guns have thrown their hat into the ring. The Tata Group has bagged the rights to be the title sponsor for WPL. Brands like HUL's Boost and Coca-Cola's Powerade spent big bucks to advertise at the Women's T20 Cricket World Cup. Equitas Small Finance Bank has Smriti Mandhana as their brand ambassador and have made commitments to step up their game towards promoting women's cricket.
Smriti Mandhana has been a brand ambassador for the last 2 years. So Equitas does a lot of things in terms of women empowerment. So our entire, we have a separate product for women called EVA. And when we started this, we thought we need to have a face. We need a diva who's an inspiring personality, and at that time there was no other better personality than Smriti Mandhana because she's a proven match winner.
Brands want to tap WIPL because it's first it's moment marketing, B, it's topical, and since it's approaching, brands have good time to plan their own strategy for WIPL. Then they are collaborating with some women cricketers and some women entrepreneurs and some women sponsors that, you know, are more into WIPL to create buzz around and about their brand, because it is a platform where brands get more visibility.
The BCCI received bids worth $572 million from corporates to own the 5 women's IPL franchises. This is significantly higher than the collective sum of $387 million invested by corporates for the inaugural edition of the men's IPL in 2008. But experts agree it is too soon to make predictions because even the men's IPL took some time to become the money magnet it is today.
With the same scale that they did for men's immediately? No, of course not. And this is not because the brands don't want to. This is because there aren't enough people or proof that enough people will watch it. Eventually, brands need to reach out to people.
Corporates did not shy away to invest big money to buy the franchises. The broadcasting rights have fetched nearly over 1,000 crore rupees. Brands could not be far behind, and the Women's India Premier League could see the dawn of a new era. Outside the Brabourne Stadium in Mumbai, Samiksha Sharma.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates continue right here on CNBC-TV18.